learn some sick guitar licks, then watch this video. Welcome back to another lesson. My name is Jay Tarantino from the band Etherius, and today I am breaking down some more sick licks for you from the Etherius song, Veins of Silver and Sorrow. Man, we're gonna break down the first verse solo, and I'm gonna show you how I create melodic phrases, how I embellish them with slides and bends and things, just to make them a little bit more interesting. And as always, if you would like to check out the new Etherius album, as well as the rest of our catalog, there's a link in the description box below. And if you like what I do, if you find value in these lessons, and you want to support me in any way, please consider becoming a sponsor on Patreon, patreon.com/JTarantino. The link is in the description box below. All right, so let's get right to it. So in the last lesson, either the last lesson or the one before it, I covered the ending of this solo, and that is a great exercise to practice alternate picking with. So I won't go into too much detail with that section, but I will go over it again. But if you want to check that video out, I'll have a link in the description box. So the beginning lick is actually a perfect example of what I'm talking about here. I had this idea in my head. I had this melody that I was humming, and one of the things I like to do is I like to come up with melodies before I even have a guitar in my hands. The one thing I like to do with my solos, especially with when I'm doing more lyrical kind of phrasing, where I'm not just blazing through a lick, I'm doing something that's a little more kind of maybe laid back and a little more melodic and it's got some catchy melody going on. I like to use slides to exaggerate the melody a little bit, create a little drama, kind of play with the time a little bit. And let's just take, for example, let's take a basic melody. Let's take something like this. Let's just do something like that, for example. So if we were to play it just normal, all right, that's cool, you know, but let's add some techniques to it to kind of make it a little more, let's give it a little more pizzazz. So let's do some slides here. Let's exaggerate them a little bit. Let's do, that sounds way more interesting already, and we didn't even really do much. We're just adding some slides to it. We're just sliding into the notes. We're doing some longer slides, some quick slides. We're exaggerating the notes a little bit more. So again, let's compare the two. So the melody without the slides. All right, now let's do the slides. Throw a little vibrato in there. So now let's add some bends to that phrase. So again, with the slides, now with the bends. And again, we can hit some pick harmonics in there too to make some of the notes jump out. There's a couple of ways that we can really embellish the notes and make them stand out a little bit more. So again, okay, so now I'll play it again, just without doing any embellishments. So as you can hear, it sounds already, we did two simple things. We added some bends, we added some slides, and it already made the phrase, and maybe a little more exaggerated vibrato, and it made that melody pop out a little bit more, made it a little more interesting. So the reason I showed you that is because that's kind of the approach that I took with this particular solo. There's a lot of slides that I do and some bends as well. The first phrase is based around this arpeggio right here. So it's a D flat major. We're in the key of F minor here. So it's going to be 6th fret on the D string, 6th fret on the G string, and 6th fret on the B. So that shape is really central to what I'm doing here with this first lick. So what I'm doing is I'm sliding into the first note. So I'm doing. So again, taking the concepts that I showed you in the first example, and that's how I apply it to some of my own licks. So I could have just played that as. That would work, but to me, it's a little bland. You know, we want to spice it up a little bit. So the way I play it on the album is like this. So again, based around that arpeggio that I was just talking about. So I'm sliding from 3 to 5, so F to G, that's on the D string. Then I go into the arpeggio. Then I slide. So I'm sliding 6 to 7 or 6 to 8. I go go back to 6, and then I slide up to 9, and I slide down to 8. So again, then from here I do. So I hit that note, that F twice, but a cool way to do it, like I just did, when you play the same note on 2 different strings, the sound of the note is going to be different because the string gauges are thicker. The note that I play here, you can tell this one's a little bit darker because the G string is a little bit thicker than the B string, so it does have a little bit of a difference in sound. So again, even if I did that, if we compare them, you know, if we did that sounds way cooler, you know, even though we took the same melody and we just added some slides to it. So again, so that leads us into the next lick, again, taking the same idea that we were doing with the slides. So this is all on the G string right here. So again, if I played that without any embellishments, it would sound like this. Again, it's cool, but it's very bland. So now if we exaggerate the notes a little bit, that's one thing I like to do, is do a quick, when I'm doing, like if I'm going descending, like if I'm going from here to here, like I do at the end of this phrase here, I like to do slides where I slide up real quick and then hit the note that I'm targeting. So again, and you don't necessarily have to, it doesn't really matter, it's such a quick little thing. It doesn't really matter what note you slide up to because it's going to be quick enough where you're not really going to hear it. It's just for an effect. So again, so if we put those 2 phrases together, it would sound like this. So now, moving on, we have this next phrase. Another thing I like to do is I like to throw in some major and minor 7th arpeggios instead of just regular root 3rd, 5th, you know, triads. I like to do stuff like this. So that first shape is based around this minor 7 arpeggio right here. That's F minor 7. So we have 8th fret on the A string, 6th fret on the D string, and then 8th fret on the G. The next arpeggio is based on a dominant 7 chord, so that's going to be E flat 7. So we have 6th fret A string, 5th fret D string, and 6th fret G. So after we do the arpeggios, we have right here, we're sliding from 3 to 5. 5, which is C, 5 on the G. That's my target note. You know, I could have done something like, okay, that's cool again, but it sounds way better sliding into the target note that we're trying to hit. So from the beginning up to there, we have so now from there we have this lick. So now here we're getting towards the end of the solo. I'm building some momentum to lead me into the next section. So I'm gonna get a little bit more, I'm not going full shred here, but we are getting a little more notey, if you will. So that run is, so it's 3, 5, 6 on the G, 4, 6, 8 on the B string, and then 4, 6, sliding up to 9 on the E string. So again, and again, another slide into the note. So we have this little, so it's hammer on pull off 9, 11, 9, 8, and then back to 9. So again, up to there. Now from here we have a lick that's based around a major 7 arpeggio. So that's D flat major 7 right there. So we have this lick. So this lick is, again, what I would consider, like I've mentioned this before, it's like a tongue twister for your fingers. And it also demonstrates the concept I was talking about earlier of playing the same note on different strings, which we're doing right here. So that lick is... So again, play it slow. Again, we're using alternate picking here, so it's... Now from here we have the ending of the solo, which, like I said, I've gone over in I think the last lesson or the one before it. So I'm just gonna play it here real slow, and then. But if you want a more detailed analysis of this lick, check out that video. Again, I'll have it linked in the description box. So here we have, again, based around this sort of string skipping minor arpeggio shape here. So. And so that's the end of the solo. And again, like I said, just really a great way to create more interesting phrases is just very simple things like adding slides, adding bends, exaggerate the slides a little bit, combine the two techniques. There's other ways you can embellish lines, embellish licks and phrases and things like that, but I think this is a good place to start. So I highly, highly recommend that you try doing this as well in your own solos, and you'll see a huge difference in just playing a melody, kind of stock as we would call it, as opposed to adding little embellishments like we just demonstrated in this video. All right, so here's the lick slow. And here it is to the track.